More than 150 armed robberies, 14 home invasions, some of the most feared names in New York organized crime. Those are the claims former Bonanno associate Gene Borrello makes in his Soft White Underbelly interview. But how much of his story is supported by public records? How much comes from his personal recollection? And where does the Mafia mythology begin? Today we're breaking down Gene's rise through organized crime, his connection to powerful figures like Vincent, Asaro, and Ronnie G. Alonzo, the robberies, the prison time, and the consequences that followed. This isn't about glorifying the mob, it's about separating documented history from personal storytelling. I'm DJ Faceless Animal. Let's get into it.
Tell me about some of the guys you met, because you were dealing with some of these
heavy hitters.
Right?
Yeah. I work personally for Vinny Asaro. For those who don't know who that is, he was a captain on the committee in the Bonanno crime family. He was part of the Latanza heist. His partner was Jimmy Conway, as the guy Robert De Niro played as him in the movie. That was his best friend. Vinny was godfather to his kids. Vinny Asaro was an interesting character. Extremely powerful when he was in the 70s, one of the most powerful, respected captains there was. As he got older, he got very crazy. He lost a lot of his money, but still dangerous.
What if I told you one man claims he learned organized crime directly from one of the most feared captains in the Bonanno crime family? Not from movies, not from books, from sitting across the table with him every single day. In this interview, former Bonanno associate Gene Borrello opens up about Vincent Vinny Asaro, a man federal prosecutors identified as a longtime Bonanno captain and whose name has been linked to some of the most infamous chapters in Mafia history. Gene describes Asaro as old school, ruthless, and obsessed with respect. He tells stories about revenge, power, and the code that allegedly governed life inside organized crime. But as with many stories from former mob figures, some details are documented while others come from Gene's own account. So today we're going to separate the history from the legend and break down what these stories reveal about how the Mafia actually operates.
And people had to realize that at the end of the day, just because he went broke, he's still Vinny Asaro. And you're not going to disrespect him and talk to him anyway. You know what I mean? So there was several, this is a crazy story, and I'll give one with him. I want to say 2010, he was in the deli, and Vinny used to plant his flag a lot. Like, he'll go into a deli, and he'll stay there, and he'll just sit there every day for like months, and thinks he owns the place now. So everyone knows that's Vinny Asaro. You don't say nothing to him. He'll go sit there, and he just drink his coffee and sit down with his friends, and just let him sit there. A guy comes in, and something had happened in the store, and Vinny got into an argument with him, and the guy pushed Vinny. Now, everyone knows organized crime. Hitting a guy like Vinny Asaro is a death sentence. It's almost on your death certificate. So what ends up happening is that the guy claimed he didn't know it was Vinny Asaro, and he ran to a guy named Bobby Glasses. Bobby Glasses was the consigliere of the Gambino family, who was best friends with Vinny Asaro. And he went to Vinny and begged him and says, listen, the guy didn't know it was you. He apologizes, he's sorry. Please leave him alone, don't hurt the guy, he's terrified. Vinny says, I'll leave him alone, but don't let me see him. Tell him to stay away from us, my area. He said, all right, no problem. I want to say 2010 this happened. 2011, Bobby Glasses gets locked up for murder, double murder. I mean, literally, Bobby Glasses went to trial. The minute Bobby Glasses was found guilty, 2 days later, I get a phone call. I need to take care of something. I said, what? Goes, that guy that hit him, he was not letting it go. So he waited for Bobby Glasses. He heard Bobby Glasses was going to prison, gets found guilty, calls me, and goes, I need you to take care of something. I said, what's up? He wanted me to kill this guy. This guy's a janitor. He's a janitor, pushes brooms, all right? He wouldn't let it go if the guy hit him. This is a year and a half later now. I'm like, Vinny, I said, of course, you know, the order's the order. And I says, of course, no problem. Now, I'm bugging because I don't mind killing someone, but killing a janitor, you know, like, this is ridiculous. And I know Vinny's old and he's crazy. He literally was sitting on this guy for weeks. And he had the whole thing mapped out. He's 80 years old at the time, by the way. He has the whole thing mapped out, where I could get him, where he walks. I'm like, this guy's really doing intel and homework at 80 years old. He's really psychotic.
I'm a janitor.
Yeah, real gangster. And what ends up happening is that I got word to Ronnie, and I says, yo, he wants me to kill a fucking janitor. They're flipping out, saying you can't kill a civilian, leave him in the street. He wants me to leave him in the street. So whatever they do, they come up with this to calm him down and to say, just turn it into a beating. Don't kill the guy. Come on, he didn't know it was you. If he knew it was you, we understand, kill him. All right, fine. Now we make it like I didn't do that. I didn't go behind his back and say nothing. We're just, I'm playing it cool because you can't do that. So he calls for me again. He goes, listen, don't kill him. He goes, but beat him up really bad. And what I want you to tell him is, you ever disrespect our people again, we'll fucking kill you. I want those exact words said. I said, okay. He goes, I want it done in front of people and in broad daylight. I said, okay. Long story short, I wait for the guy to come out of his house. I grab a baton, the slide out. The ones that come out, the pipe. I walk up to him. I said, Mike. He turned around. Boom. I whacked him in the head with it. Boom. I put him to the ground. I'm beating him with the baton. And I told him, you ever disrespect our fucking people, we'll kill you. Long story short, I get the job done. I've never seen Vinny so happy. I go see him at the deli. I heard it was done. He's hugging me. Yeah, nobody messes with me. And this is the kind of guy he was. At 80 years old, I want people to listen to this. 80 years old, he's still sitting on a man, watching his movements. This was a gangster.
This moment really stood out to me. Gene isn't talking about a young street guy trying to prove himself anymore. He's talking about Vincent Asaro at around 80 years old, still allegedly watching someone's movements, still holding on to a grudge, and still willing to order violence over what Gene describes as a sign of disrespect. Whether every detail happened exactly as Gene remembers it, the bigger takeaway is the mindset he's describing. In his eyes, reputation didn't retire, age didn't matter, power wasn't about money. It was about making sure people believed there were consequences for crossing you. That's the image Gene is painting of the old school mafia, a world where respect was protected long after the money or the status may have faded.
Were big earners, making millions of dollars. They called Al the Prince of the City. He was a captain at like 30 years old, making about $50,000 a week, sometimes even more. These guys were real serious people, big money makers, good friends of mine. I also, had an altercation with Charles Caniglia. He was a hitman for John Gotti. He's the one that put the neighbor in a barrel of acid. He wanted my head on a stick. I had pistol whipped his nephew at the park, and Ronnie had to go talk with him over it. And I remember Ronnie coming back to me and going, just be careful with this one. I mean, this is different. This guy's like a serial killer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know, whatever. So they're like, just, with this guy, just let me calm him down. He's furious, you know what I mean? So I had a few bump-ins, and for the most part, like I said, a lot of the serious guys liked me because I operated like they did. I was a ballsy, hands-on guy. I believed in violence. I believed in the way, and they knew that I was a real street dude, you know what I mean?
It's raining like a motherfucker out here. But one thing Gene makes very clear is that he built his reputation around violence. He says the old mob guys respected him because he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. Historically, that's not unusual in traditional organized crime. While the Mafia made money through things like loan sharking, illegal gambling, extortion, and infiltration of legitimate businesses, the threat of violence was often what kept those rackets running. Reputation mattered because if people stopped believing there would be consequences, the organization could lose influence. Gene also admits that his mindset eventually caught up with him. His criminal career ended with federal charges, years in prison, and later cooperating with the government. So while he's describing what earned respect in that world, he's also describing the path that ultimately led to its collapse.
So those are like, yeah.
It's a stressful lifestyle, right?
Very.
It's got to be.
It is and it ain't. So it is stressful, but I like the adrenaline. I like the action. I remember coming out my house with a bulletproof vest on because I knew I had beef with a 9mm on me. It's like crazy. It's like a movie, but it's real. You know what I'm saying? Or sleeping, my ex-girlfriend be in the house and we got guns under the pillows because they're all over the house because I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I had them all around me always. So it was like a thrill at 20 years old, 22, 20 years old. And then it's like, like you said, very stressful,
Was this something that was in your blood when you were a young kid?
Absolutely. My dad was the same way. If you met my dad in the 70s, he was the same way. So he just wasn't a mafia guy, but he was the same way. So it was like in my DNA.
It's an Italian thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and he was just crazy, my father. He was a hothead, tough guy, you know, pistol packer, same thing, did tons of jail time, you know, just wild, you know? So it's like the apple don't fall too far from the tree, you know?
How many years were you really deeply involved in that?
Organized crime?
Yeah.
About 13. Since I'm young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started just changing, getting weaker as time went on?
Yeah. It wasn't watered down when I first started. It was still really structured and people were still getting shot and there was still murders. But when it got into like the 2000s, like 13s and 14s, it was still there, but it was like starting to weaken out. You know what I mean? The Bonanno family was really strong, but the violence was gone. And that's what I mean. I'm not saying it's all about violence, but if there's no violence, what are you scared of? You know, why am I paying you? You know, that's what I was always taught. Ronnie G was still extremely violent, but like a lot of crews were just making money. It's all about money. You know what I mean?
How were they making most of their money?
Loan sharking, illegal sports betting, extortion, construction, unions, you name it. Every racket we were in, legit businesses, restaurants, just everything. Drug dealing on the low. Robbing drug deals was my thing, you know? Stuff like that.
You must have some great stories about things like that.
Oh my God. So, robbing drug dealers. Whew. I mean, we did so many of them. I remember when I did my Profa, they knew I was responsible for so many of them. And I was like, you know, we're going to be here for a while with all these robberies. They're like, we know. I was like, all right. So I would just start from, it was just so many armed robberies. I'll give you one. I'll actually give you one that I gave a few times, but it's pretty good. I almost got killed for it. We were 20 years old, me and Ronnie G's nephew, Bobby G, and we were doing stick-ups. And his brother had gave us a tip. And said that, listen, I'm going to be in a card game. He goes, and the first place winner is going to walk out with like $50,000. He goes, I'll let you know who the first place winner is. I'll text you. He's coming out, and you get him. We're like, all right. We don't know whose place it is. We know nothing. We just know that he's in a card game coming out. As we find out the first place winner, he goes and texts us and goes, hey, he's got a $100,000 Rolex on as well. Get that too. It's a masterpiece Rolex. So now we're like, all right, we're 20 years old. We're like, all right, great.
This is one of the most revealing stories in the interview. Gene says he and his crew robbed a high-stakes card game connected to Gambino figure Bobby Glasses. But what happened next is what really explained how the Mafia worked. According to Gene, Vincent Asaro wasn't impressed by the score. He was worried about the consequences. Gene says Asaro ordered the money and the property returned within 3 days because robbing another family's operation could have sparked a much bigger problem. Whether every detail happened exactly as Gene remembers it or not, the story highlights a real principle of organized crime. Making money was important, but avoiding unnecessary wars between families was even more important.
Guy comes out, I'm on him, I hit him with the gun, pistol whip him, I take the money he had like in a fanny pack, I take the money, I take the watch, we get out of there, we're all happy, we're celebrating. We did this like 4 in the morning. 7 in the morning, 3 hours later, my doorbell's going crazy. I look outside the window, it's fucking Ronnie G and Mike Padavona. In my brain, I says, this is not good. I went downstairs, I never forget it. He looked at me, he goes, you do anything last night? I says, nah, what are you talking about? He goes, do me a favor, turn around, go the fuck upstairs, give me the money and the watch. I says, what are you talking about? He goes, go the fuck upstairs. Who the fuck do you think you are? You robbed Junior Giro's card game, da-da-da. I'm like, what? We robbed the fucking Gambino guy's fucking card game.
And that's how it goes in a day of a life in the mob. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more content by DJ Faceless Animal. Visit facelessanimalstudios.com.
He fucking sold us out in 2 seconds. Here's my brother and Gene. I'll get the stuff back. Put us right under the fucking river.